Hi, this is Joseph. This is the update and the conclusion of this trade here. So you'll see two price markers. For those of you that weren't in the chat room today, this is the only trade that I've had so far since the market opened. I made a video just about a half hour ago or so, and I was in a hurry because I had taken a quick break from the chat room to make the video, thinking that there were going to be some people that probably want to see this thing work out. I also have a screenshot where it was I think it right when it hit the 5.25 target, but when it hit the 5.25 target, we knew it was going to go, a lot further. Just not knowing exactly how much further. Just we had a couple of different targets, obviously. You never really know. So anyway, let me review this trade for those of you that didn't catch this trade, or if you weren't in the chat room. So this is a 5-minute chart, and for those of you that are familiar with the way I mark up my charts, or I'm sorry, for those of you who aren't. uh, I've got a blue dot right there that highlights the first 5-minute bar when the market opens at 9:30. Now, just because I do that, that's not to say that there aren't any trades before the market opens. There are. It's just that I think a lot of people that are still struggling and don't have a consistent system. You'll hear people talk about, you've got to create a playbook of your best trades. If you don't know what your best trade is, if you don't have one yet, the one of the things that I would suggest, and I think a lot of us who end up turning, when we turn all of this around from constantly losing, chasing price up and down with no clear strategy or methodology, when you trade that way long enough, and then if for some reason somehow you end up becoming profitable because you start to understand things, you're going to have to stop. You're going to have to slow down. You're going to have to reevaluate and really put in a lot more effort, probably than what you have in the beginning. If you're chasing price without any clear system, to me, it indicates, and this is what I went through. This is why I can say this. It clearly indicated to me that I was so super hyperactive and busy chasing price around that what I should have done is just shut it all down, stop what I was doing, and then learn how the market moves. What is it doing at certain times of the day? Are there times are there specific times during the day that I could take a trade where it will actually improve and increase the probability of me getting a winning trade? Where are most of my losing trades occurring? That's what I had to dissect. You have to do all of that, dissect all that information. You need the data, first of all. Um, so it's kind of like this weird vicious cycle. Go ahead and jump in there if that's what you want to do and make a bunch of mistakes and then see if you can learn from it. That's what most of us do. And then a lot of people don't get the opportunity to figure that out. So you got to be really, really careful. So what I'm saying is that if you understand what's going on even before the market opens at 9:30 New York time, then of course take trades, right? There are some trades. I'm not saying that there aren't. All I'm saying is that I immediately in my chat room, I show everybody how I start highlighting the first bar. The first bar when the market opens. It's to me a pretty important bar. It can set the whole, as you can see here, it set the whole, everything that happened over here to the right inside of these two pink bars. These two pink bars right there highlight the high and the low of that first 5-minute bar. Today, it did a really good job of highlighting to me that there really wasn't any opportunity here, and it was creating a range. It was just going sideways. It's just basically consolidation. It's just going sideways. So now I've got to wait for something to happen. I know what that something is going to look like when it appears. I just don't know when it's going to appear. I don't know which version. Is it going to be a breakout, or is it going to be the 5-minute trigger bar that I look for? Those are the only two things I worry about. So I'm not chasing price inside of this range. Every day it does not do this. That's the other thing. You have to be, so this is the other reason why it takes so much practice. Just because, I highlight the first, let me go back. When I first started highlighting the first 5-minute bar, I didn't know that it was going to give me the opportunity to see sideways consolidation like this, where I could say, okay, well, it's clearly going sideways. There's nothing for me to trade. I'll wait until it's a breakout. It doesn't do that every day. Sometimes there is a breakout after the first 5-minute bar and it just keeps going. Sometimes there's a reversal and it'll go down the opposite way and it'll keep going. Sometimes it'll go a little bit. And so, you know what I mean? Like every day it's different. So I had to watch what happens after the first 5 minute bar and track that. I had to take notes. I had to, and I talk about it in that day one of the 5 day trader challenge that I put together. Day one is how do I organize and categorize that information? So if you've skipped over that part, please go and watch day one of the 5 day trader challenge. I talk about how I was able to compile this information. So it's very time consuming. Like you've got to really study this information to figure out what to do. It's not easy. It doesn't come overnight. And so that's the other thing that I want to remind everybody. It's not, you can do it with me in the chat room and I'll show you exactly what I'm doing every day because I talk about this stuff like nonstop. This is, so it's almost like in the chat room, I'm thinking out loud. So I'm talking my thoughts and this is what I do to myself. Like I'm constantly trying to keep myself in the moment. That's how I stay 100% mindful uh, and in that moment so that I'm not distracted and I'm very, very clear about exactly what's happening here. I have to speak it out. I have to talk it out, everything that happens. So the diamond that you see, the red diamond, that's bar number 6. I've said this many times. You've probably heard me say it often. You know, again, if you still don't have a system that's working for you and you're still chasing price back and forth, you don't really know what to do, start here. Wait until you've got bar number 1, mark it off, and then wait until after bar number 6, and then start looking for trades. You'll find that me and a lot of other people, we do this. Like this is what I did in the beginning. Again, I don't always wait until bar number 6 now. Today, I had to. Like it didn't do anything until after bar number 6. But when I was still struggling, I realized that most of my failed trades went from bar 1 and between bar 1 and bar 6. Anything after bar 6, I started to improve the opportunity or the odds more in my favor, balanced in my favor that I was going to have a winning trade. So you may want to consider doing that. Now here, it wasn't until bar 15 that I got the breakout. That's all that this was. So let me review this reversal that set up this whole pattern right here and this breakout and this trending move. Now we're done and we're out of the trade right here. I'm going to walk you through exactly why I closed that trade. You can see that it's still making another move higher, but I don't think it's going to go that much further. I think that this trade, in my opinion, is done. I'll show you exactly why. So let me pause this right now and I'm going to bring in my 1 hour chart and I'll show you that. So we're going to go to the larger time frames and then everything that you see here will probably start to make a lot more sense. We're going to be talking about that green line right there that you see where I'm moving my cursor. That's Monday's closing price. And then these areas of resistance over here to the left. And then why I felt that this was going to be a decent reversal here at the lows. So let's go ahead and pull in my chart. So I'm going to slide things around. Hopefully they fit and it'll make some sense here. So what you're looking at is the 15-minute time frame. I want to go to the 15-minute time frame because I mentioned this earlier, and I said this in the chat room. I'm looking at the 15-minute. I'm looking at the 1 hour chart. This was so there's a particular trigger bar that I use on the 5-minute chart. I call it a clamp bar. It basically locks in and closes above all previous the bodies of the previous candles, sometimes even the wicks, including. And the more previous candles that it wipes out, it just kind of takes out all of that. The more that it closes beyond that point, multiple candles, let's say 6, 7 previous candles, the more the better, the stronger that move appears to be. So it's kind of like, at least visually, when I look, I look for that 5 minute. Now it's got to be all in context, right? I need to know what's going on before. Why do I think it's going to keep going further? There are some other things, obviously, that are important to be aware of when it happens. But this was, and I'm going to go ahead and draw it right here. That right there was the 15-minute clamp up bar. I know it's a silly word. For some people, it's probably even kind of stupid that I call it that. But I had to give it a title when I was like journaling all these things and putting together this system. So I normally look for that particular bar on a 5-minute chart. But it doesn't mean that it won't happen on a 15-minute chart, which is exactly what it did here. You can see that bar right there, the body, it closes above all of these previous bars over here. Like we can go a long ways. This is a 15-minute chart. So in addition to getting the setup on the 5-minute chart, I also got a second source of confirmation looking at the 15-minute chart. That's all I wanted to highlight right here, right now. So at this point, that's what I got. Now, the next thing that you can see here, that's last night's closing price, this green line right here. And this line right up here that you see, this green line, let me go to the 1 hour chart. This goes back to last Wednesday. So today's Tuesday, and we can see Wednesday's closing price. I'm not going to say that Wednesday's closing price next week will be important. But what I found is the mid-range point of the week, the closing price very often is a catalyst. It's a level that ends up having some kind of reaction the following week. Not always. It's not every single week. So please don't think that, as I say this, it means that it's always going to happen. What I'm doing is saying I have no idea what's going to happen next week, but I'm going to keep an eye on these levels. And you can see that I pull that data. So here's Monday, here's Tuesday, right? Today we go Friday, Thursday, and here's Wednesday's closing price. Very often, Wednesday's closing price, that midpoint range of the week, can have an impact on price. That's exactly what happened yesterday. Yesterday, I did the same thing. When I was trading it here, I could see that it was going to reverse and start to pull back down. It ran right into that level. Today, it had an even greater impact. And you can see on the 15-minute chart, this is a 1 hour chart, by the way. So here's Wednesday's closing price. Again, it does not mean that every Wednesday's closing price is going to have an impact on price in the future, the following week. I'm not saying that, but very often it does. Sometimes it's just Friday's closing price. Like it's different, but you've got to be paying attention to these levels. You need to know what your levels are when you're trading and what are the most significant levels. The reason that Wednesday's closing price or Thursday or Friday's closing price or even Tuesday or Monday, it's the closing price. We've got the high, the low, and the closing price. Those are the levels that often will trigger some kind of catalyst. I can treat it as a catalyst. It'll trigger some kind of reaction. Again, that's just the way I do it. It doesn't mean that that's the way the market or the system always has to work for everybody. Of course not. It's just a level that I look for. There are multiple opportunities while I'm not doing anything for other people. It's just the way that I trade it. I slow things down and I only want 1, 2, or 3 trades. Maybe 5. If I get 5, that's great because the market provided the opportunity. But I'm not going to force it. I'm not going to scalp all day long. I don't need to. The more I scalp and the more I trade in areas or ranges that I don't understand completely, and they're more or less when I sit back and think, is this a good trade? If I sit back and think it looks like a 50-50 kind of trade, like I've taken those trades and sometimes I win and sometimes I don't. Well, some people are okay. Some traders are okay with taking those trades. I'm not. I want to try and minimize all the stupid mistakes that I make and all of the times that I have found by collecting this data and analyzing this data that I found that's where I tend to make my mistakes. So just start to eliminate them. And then I can start seeing my P&L increase. I can start getting my payouts and I can be more consistent. And then that develops confidence and I can keep going with this. Like it just keeps building and feeding off of itself. That's what turns it around. Hopefully a trader will get to that opportunity. But like I discussed earlier, what very often happens is it's just like a lot of scalping, a lot of chasing price, no methodology, chasing a lot of different people and listening to a lot of different people and not finding any good solid mentorship. And then, you realize I'm done. Like I don't know what I'm going to do and I don't know if I'm ever going to figure it out. That's what a lot of people end up. That's the point that they come to after a while. And unfortunately for a lot of people, they end up going out of business and they don't ever come back. It can be avoided, but how do you know what to do when you get in when nobody really tells you? You don't know who's telling you the truth. That's the point. So let's go back to the 15-minute chart. I want to also highlight why I felt that at this point where I got out of the trade, I could see that on the 15-minute chart, this made it a lot more clear to me that Wednesday's closing price, this green line, was clearly acting as an area of resistance, primarily because of the way the bodies of these candles were closing here. Now you'll notice on Monday, they were closing above and then closing back down and closing above and then closing back down. A little different type of reaction here compared to today. But today it made it even more obvious that once again, they brought it up to that level and I can see it. Again, if you weren't looking at the 15-minute chart, you'd miss it. As a matter of fact, it could have been that on today, a day like today, it could have been the 30-minute chart that would have looked more like this and the 15-minute chart would have looked a little bit different. The point I'm trying to make is that take a look. I don't want to be lazy when I'm looking. So if it doesn't make any sense on the 15 minute, I'll look at the 30 minute and I'll look at the 1 hour chart. So it's not set in stone that I'm just looking at a 5 minute, 15 minute, and a 1 hour. Every once in a while, I'll look at the 30 minute as well. But those are my primary go-to timeframes: 5 minute, the 15 minute, and the 1 hour chart. And I do pretty well with that. Occasionally, I got to look a little bit deeper. I got to sit up, right, and get involved in the chart and start moving things around and drawing lines and looking at different time frames to see if anything jumps out. It's not just like a set it and leave it alone and walk away. Sometimes you've got to manage these trades. That's what happened here with the breakout. So let's go back to the initial trade. So here was the initial breakout and the trade. Initially, it's a 5.25 point trade. Yesterday was a very different trading environment. It was a very different range that I was trading in. And I knew that I just needed to just leave my trades alone and let them run into the 5.25 point trade. I talked about that in yesterday's update, why I felt that it was going to be a more condensed and contained trading range, that it wasn't going to look like today. And today, I don't know for sure, but when I come to the screen, I could see this. So here's my reversal. I forgot to talk about that. So the reversal down here with the news right at, I call it 5:30, but it was really 8:30 with the news this morning. It was right here. This, you could see the setup. All it did was kind of took out that low, pushed right through and reversed. It was just a perfect reversal. I think I even have it here. Three pushes down here to the lows and then that reversal. There's a clamp up bar. Similar to what you saw on the 5 minute chart, 15-minute chart. This is what I normally look for on the 5 minute chart. Right there where I'm moving my cursor, that's a clamp up bar. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bars that bar closed up and above those closes. So you can see more bars, the better. But is just that bar alone by itself good enough? No, it's not. In this case, I usually like to see that clamp up bar close above the 20-day moving average. That's something that I look for, which would then mean I would get into a bar like this one right here, that strong bar that closes at the high. So here's my trigger, here's my entry. Sometimes my entry is with the trigger. If it would have closed up high and strong and above everything, not necessarily that high, but above everything that I talked about, multiple bars, and then also closing strong above that moving average. It's just a final source of confirmation. That's all I'm looking for. That could have been a much better opportunity, but there was the clamp up bar right there. That's the trigger. Then we look for the entry if it's not providing that on the same trigger bar itself. There were obviously other opportunities to be able to get into the trade along the way as the trend unfolds. And then here was the breakout. Again, this could have been a second entry opportunity over here, but it was a first entry opportunity if you're following the idea or the concept of wait until after bar 6 to find a trade. If you're still struggling with trying to get into a trade before bar 6. If you find that you're still sort of chasing price up and down, back and forth, and it's just too choppy for you, just wait until bar 6. So this could have been the first trade for anybody that trades in that manner, with that methodology, waiting until after bar 6 to get into a trade. But of course, there was opportunities if you're skilled enough and you've looked at all of the data, like what's causing this reversal? Is this a good trade? So that's the whole breakdown. Like that's the whole trade. Again, I mentioned it looks like it could float a little bit higher. I don't think it's going to go a whole lot higher than this area. But again, I'm done. I'm closed. I'm out of the trade. I don't need to scalp off anymore. I'm not going to jump back in. These bars, they're not really providing another sort of second entry opportunity for me on this trade. I'm just kind of done with it. The other thing I want to leave you with is, I say this all the time, when we see a trend unfold and somebody comes into the chat room late and they see, one bar or two bars start to reverse, first of all, you know what I say about that. You got to understand the counter trend in a trend to be able to understand the trend completely. I'm not the one who invented that. I didn't create it. Bill McLaren did a lot of work on that, and that's where I got most of my information on that. I started studying that. Obviously, I was looking at the charts before that and trying to figure it out, but he's the guy that made it very clear. He does a much better job presenting that information than I do. So take a look at his work. But if somebody comes in the chat room, they say, hey, Joseph, is this a good opportunity to start trying to short it here? I see, that it's kind of running into this area of resistance over here. I would say no. I mean, we don't have, if we're looking for a reversal, we need to see something that would indicate that it's actually reversing from this uptrend. And then count the number of bars. Like if you see 20 bars above that 20-day moving average on a 5-minute chart, Don't look to short it yet. So just another tip, just something like these are very sensible things that you can create rules around and a trading system around if you understand these basic concepts. So hopefully, if you weren't trading in the chat room and you traded this on your own, you got this. If you didn't, hopefully you can take away what my interpretation of this breakout and this trending opportunity led to. 27 points. That's a really good trade. 27 and a quarter points. That's where I closed out the trade. That's where I said in the chat room, I'm done with this trade. And I moved this price tag around so that people can see just exactly how much is available on this trade. Like again, tomorrow may not be like this. Tomorrow may be a pretty slow day. We might only get two or three 5 point trades. Like that's it. 5.25 point trades, or it may be a good day just like this one. Like we really don't know. There are other days where it goes 40 points. It really, you don't know. Like you can step back and you can look at the larger time frames and try to determine that. Look at the daily, look at the trend. Making sure that we're trading in the direction of the trend is a good idea. Obviously, sometimes you can trade the opposite direction of the trend and still make money, but you want to do that safely. It's got to be calculated. You got to know what it is that you're doing. If you're just guessing, but you kind of see some things and you still don't have it figured out, it could be a 50-50 trade. Do you want to take 50-50 trades? I don't. I like taking trades where I can say, that's my 90-10 trade. That's the trade that's in my playbook. That's the trade that I look for. So today, this was my playbook trade. This was my breakout right here after bar 6, if that's what I was doing. Here's my reversal. Here's my playbook. This is in my playbook. My clamp up bar didn't close strong enough above that 20-day, wait for another entry. Here is my entry, and then trade it to the 5.25 point trade, 5.25 point target. That's my playbook. That's in my playbook, this move right here. And then later on, wait until after bar 6. Here's my breakout. This is my breakout trade in my playbook. All of the details right here. I'm going to be reviewing that and putting that in my trade journal and on my trader view. All of this is going to be broken down, and then the analysis. And as this unfolds, my analysis of an interpretation of these pullbacks. Is this a pullback that would signify a full-on reversal? No. We're still making higher lows, higher highs. This is just a 2-bar pullback. I understand this. I trade this. I study this. Right here, this area right here. Is this a area for that would indicate that the trend is over and it's going to produce a major reversal? No, it's just it's going sideways here with these 2 bars, and then this one strong bear bar, not enough, and then it pulls right back up again, and then it comes back down. We're still making higher high or higher lows, and then we break out and make another higher high. I've got to hold on to the trade if I want to maximize my opportunities, and then here it just keeps on going. Like so this is exactly what I'm going to do. As soon as I'm done trading in the chat room, I'm going to be breaking this all down, doing my full write-ups, my worksheets, my report card, all of it, all of it. Is this a good trade? Did I hold on to the trade as long as I was supposed to? Where can I improve? Some people will cut out a little bit early when they see it running into this area of resistance. That's okay too. Like you'll expand, you'll learn, and you'll grow. So what could you do different if you closed out the trade right here where I'm moving my cursor? Well, one of the things that would help is trying to figure out, is this really the top? It is running into an area of resistance, but is this a significant area of resistance that would lead to a full-on reversal? No, not yet. So you can learn that. You can learn that and practice that as you go along. It just keeps going and going and going and going. So right here, this is very different behavior, and it's obviously going sideways. It could end up going for another leg, but this is very different, the behavior right here, compared to what I saw as this trend was developing. So hopefully you get a lot of value out of this trade, out of this video. That's all I want to do is share what it is that I'm doing and try to shortcut those opportunities. Again, just because you watch this video, it's not going to sink in. You're not going to get it in one video. You'll understand the concepts, but from here on out, if you understand the concepts and it makes sense to you and you're doing things that are very similar, now is where the work starts. Once you start getting some clarity and you see things that make sense, you can sit back and go, wow, I get it. I see that. That's where the work starts, because now you're going to have to start doing the work yourself, analyzing these, breaking them down, putting all this information and this data in your trader view and your journals, and then you're going to have to categorize all your screenshots and then tag them so that you can retrieve this information, study these charts several times today. This is the work that's involved to get that good, where you could get the reason that we're doing this, the reason I'm doing this is that I want my payouts. I want to get paid from trading. That's what I want. I want to consistently get paid from trading, and I'm looking for opportunities to eliminate the areas where I make mistakes and the times that I make mistakes. I know that I'm going to end up having a bad trade. What causes that bad trade? When I have that bad trade, I want to know what happened. What was that from? Was it just me not being 100% in the moment and paying attention to the trade? Or was it truly just something that I missed? Or do I need to learn something? Like, this is the data that I want to improve. This is what you need to do. So in the chat room, like, I walk through all of this. I know it's a lot. I know it's a lot. I only had one trade, but I can talk about this one trade for like 45 minutes to an hour because there's so much to know and to extract from this and to walk away from and try to practice from. This is how it goes. You can take one trade and you can take that trade and study it 5 to 10 times today and get more opportunities to get more education out of this experience. And it's only one trade. We only need one trade, like that Apex account that I keep going back to, that promotion that Apex did. They talk, and I trade obviously other accounts. Like, I'm not always trading my Apex accounts. I've got several in these funding companies. But what I'm getting at, I highlight Apex because they do a lot of work, marketing and promoting some of their concepts and their ideas. But the dude who made that video back in December, he did a pretty good job explaining it. It's like, come on, like 10 ticks, don't make it more complicated than it needs to be. 10 ticks, obviously we need more than 10 ticks, but like, do that and do it consistently. You could, if you have 20, $50,000 accounts and you get paid out every 2 weeks and you trade this well as best as you can, that's what you're trying to do, you could potentially get a payout of like $40,000 every 2 weeks. That sounds great. That's not what we're doing in the beginning. Obviously, we want to get one small account and just get the payouts consistently on that. And then you'll know you're ready to go that way. Like, I don't suggest run out and buy 20 accounts just because Apex is having a 90% off sale or an 80% off sale. They always have discounts. Don't do that. Like, don't do that. What you need to know is that you're ready and that you're capable. The opportunity is going to be there as long as Apex and these other companies don't go out of business. But you have to get ready. You've got to put in the work. This is what it takes. I can take this one trade and put that much effort into just this one trade. That's what it takes. That's all I'm looking for. Of course, yesterday was different. I had like 3 to 5 trades. It depends how many trades you get. And then other days it could be really small and I only get one small trade and it's only 5.25 points. I still hit my minimum tick count, my goal, and I don't force it. It's just because, and there may be a day where I don't get my minimum or what I'm hoping to get for that day. I'm not going to force it. I don't want to force a mistake. Anyway, thanks for sitting through this. I know I ramble quite a bit, but I really want to share a lot of the mindset and the thinking process that is behind it. I struggled with this stuff for a long time. Like, it can be very expensive to learn how to trade if you're following the wrong people or if you're just throwing a bunch of money at it and just trying to learn for free on YouTube. I know that it can be a mistake. Like, I'm putting out free YouTube videos. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to figure it out just from my YouTube videos. You've got to get the inside. And it doesn't mean that you have to join my chat room to figure it out. You could figure it out on your own if you just know where to go and get that right information. I think that what it really comes down to is a lot of information is good information, but people don't use that information correctly and they don't study the information correctly and they don't have the right skills to study. This was a big mistake that I had to admit, or one of my weaknesses. I had poor study skills and poor organizational skills, which put me in a position where when I watched a video or I read a book, I didn't go back and revisit that book and I didn't take accurate notes or proper notes. I didn't know how to do that effectively. Once I learned those skills, then I was able to improve. I saw big improvements in my ability to retain the information and to sort of retrieve that information, whether it was from my mind or from my computer, to be able to retrieve that information quickly so that I could assess the conditions that I was looking at on my charts and compare it to what I had learned in the past. Very often you'll have a bunch of charts, but you don't have a method to be able to go back and pull up those charts that are similar to what you're looking at right now so that you can compare the two and what did you learn. So it's a missed opportunity to learn and to really reinforce those. I talk about that in the 5-day trader challenge that I put together. That's one of the things that I really that's the primary focus of the 5-day trader challenge, is to get organized, be able to retrieve this information in a very effective manner so that you can do it quickly and really extract as much as you possibly can from this one opportunity, this one single trade. There's a lot in here. Anyway, thank you again for your time.